Hello everyone, welcome to episode 6 of my Angel Server Home Lab series. I know it's been quite a while since I last posted about my home lab. I could say that it was because I was super busy with finals and school, but honestly the truth is I ended up starting a Jellyfin server off camera, and you can't have a Jellyfin server and not use it, so I may have watched the entire Silicon Valley series while I was gone, and I have to say I'm definitely a big fan. Jared is probably my favorite character from any TV show I've seen so far. And I give the show an 8 out of 10. It was really great, really fun to watch, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone who hasn't seen it. Now, assuming you haven't watched the first 5 episodes in this series, where I just kind of show you guys what I'm doing in my home lab, I'm going to give you a quick recap. So basically, I have a 100-foot Ethernet cord running all the way down from my basement from the Cox Panoramic Home Wi-Fi box, all the way up to my room, over the walls, through some holes, stuff like that, using a bunch of little adhesive clips. And then it goes right into this Dell Optiplex, which has Proxmox running as a hypervisor. And I have I had, before I started doing a bunch of work off camera, one Ubuntu server VM that was running a Mitch, Nextcloud, Nginx Proxy Manager. I had Tailscale for remote access set up in one episode. So I sort of got sucked into working on things off camera and just completely got way ahead. So I have a lot to update on in this video. The first thing I want to update my channel on is that I started separating services into their own LXCs and VMs. So the whole point of having Proxmox to begin with is that you can have multiple VMs running on a single server and manage them all pretty easily. Before, what I was doing was I had all of my services in one VM, which the problem with that is that I can't control how much RAM Minecraft uses versus how much RAM a Mitch is allowed to use versus how much RAM Nextcloud is allowed to use. Now that they're not all, but some are in separate LXCs and VMs, I can control how much RAM total Minecraft is allowed to use, Jellyfin, so on and so on. LXCs are pretty easy to configure. All I had to do was create the LXC, pass through the hard drive through a bind mount in the configuration file on the Proxmox host, which I'll show here. And other than that, I just had to change the router port forwarding rules so that traffic can connect to my Minecraft server. Another great benefit of this is that I can update and restart just Minecraft without having to restart every single service running on my server. Now, the next major big update to my server is, of course, I added a media server, specifically Jellyfin, in a new LXC, similar to how I moved Minecraft to its own LXC. I put Jellyfin in its own new LXC as well. So I just went up here, clicked create CT just like I did with Minecraft, and passed through that hard drive just like I did with Minecraft. Installing Jellyfin was way too easy, honestly, because I just ran the bash script, which was like 1 or 2 commands, and then Jellyfin was up and running on port 8096, and I could just see my dashboard. Beyond just having it installed, of course, Jellyfin is a service that I want to be able to access from anywhere. So luckily I already have NPM set up in that old Ubuntu server VM 100. I just went into my NPM dashboard, added a new proxy host that directs traffic towards the Jellyfin VM, and I also went on Cloudflare's website and added a new CNAME record so that I can actually type in that subdomain and access my Jellyfin server directly. Now at this stage, I had a Jellyfin server running, but no media on it or any way to actually get media that I want to watch on Jellyfin. And here's where I have to be kind of careful about TOS. So of course, when I'm talking about torrenting and downloading here, I'm strictly talking about torrenting public domain movies and Linux ISOs, of course. Now, even though I'm not downloading anything copyrighted or illegal, I still want to be somewhat security conscious, so I went ahead and just created an entire new ingest VM just for downloading movies, TV shows, so on and so on. And I installed Docker on it, similar to how I did with my previous Ubuntu server VM. And I made one big Docker Compose file that spins up quite a few different containers when I do Docker Compose up. So let's just go through this Compose file and see every single service, and I'll kind of walk through what it does. So here I am SSH'd into my new download VM. As you can see there, it says Drew at download. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to CD into that new ingest folder where the Docker Compose file lives, and I'm going to use Nano to open it up so we can actually take a look inside, and I can explain each service and what it does. So this first service here at the top is Gluten, which allows me to bind an entire Docker container to a VPN so that it can't access my Wi-Fi without going through a VPN first. So all I had to do was get my WireGuard keys, my private keys from the Proton VPN website, which is my personal VPN of choice. You can use any VPN that supports WireGuard to do this. And I just pasted in that private key there, put in the information of the server that I was using. So I went with the Netherlands. I don't really know why, but that's what Gluten does. Pretty simple. And under that, I obviously have qBittorrent, which is simply for downloading torrent files. And as you can see in the network mode line, it says service Gluten. So this qBittorrent container looks to Gluten to connect to the internet. So it can't connect to the internet first without going through the VPN tunnel. This is obviously really important for security when you're downloading torrents from the internet. Enough said about that. Again, TOS, I gotta be careful here. Prowler, I don't know how to say that correctly, but it's actually really useful. Instead of having to look through a bunch of different public trackers for torrent files, you can get Prowler to search the internet for you, and it makes, indexing all the torrent files a lot easier because you can just look through IMDb's database and pick a movie, and it does all the hard work of going to the websites and finding the files for you. Now, Prowler and Radar connect together through APIs to allow you to search for movies in Radar using IMDb's database, and then you click download in Radar. Prowler goes and searches the internet, finds the correct file for you, passes it to Radar. And another great thing about Radar is it handles all the metadata and creating hard links on your server for you. So literally all I have to do, search for the movie I want in Radar, click download, and once it's done, it'll appear on my Jellyfin server. It makes automating the whole thing a lot easier, and it's pretty cool how it works. Sonar is literally the exact same thing as Radar, except it's for TV shows. So you can search for different seasons, any show you like, in public domain, of course, if you want to download it. And yeah, I'm not going to go through too much specifics here because, again, I'm a little worried about TOS, but if you are curious about these services, just Google RStack, so ARR stack, and you can see a whole lot of information on it online. Another cool thing that I did on my download VM that I've been practicing is I've been creating alias commands. So if you don't know what an alias command is, basically you can create your own commands in Linux that combine a string of other commands that already exist. So I found myself CDing into my movie folders, my TV show folders, and my torrent folders a lot to just list out whatever's in there and then CD back into my previously working directory. But these commands just make that a lot easier. So I can do C movies, C TV, C torrents, and I don't have to type CD and then the long directory and then list and then go back. It just makes it a lot easier to get around the file system, and it saves me a lot of time from having to type out long commands whenever I just want to like see what's been downloaded. If you don't know about aliases already, they only save in memory, so they're not going to be there when you close out the terminal session and then start a new one through SSH or whatever. But you can save them to boot every time you open a new terminal by adding them to your bash rc file, which everyone has in their home directory. So if you come to the bottom here, you'll see I just added these lines. So this file runs every time you open a new terminal, and it runs the alias command and creates the new command for you every single time you start a new terminal. So that was pretty cool, pretty useful. Not very complex, not a very cool like bash script or anything, but it's simple and it saves me a lot of time. So you might remember that I said that the 100-foot Ethernet cord run in my room connects to a Cox panoramic home Wi-Fi box in the basement. And let's just say I have not been impressed with the features on that router. It's so frustrating. And like, for example, if you want to set up port forwarding on the Cox box, you have to download the app. It doesn't let you do it from the router interface, which is kind of strange. But then once you download the app and you try to port forward to a device, you can only reserve a static IP for a device on the web interface. So it's like they just make things so unnecessarily hard. And also, that was the only like AP broadcasting Wi-Fi to my house, and it's all the way in the basement. So what I did is I went on Amazon and I bought a new Ubiquiti Cloud Gateway Ultra, which is very cool. I love the software on it. There's lots of good reviews, stuff like that. I was recommended by a friend to get it. And I also got 2 of these little nano HD access points. So all I had to do was set that Cox box in bridge mode, which essentially just changes it to act as a modem only, which just transfers the internet from the cable to my router. And now I have the router handling the entire home network. I just plugged one of those APs directly into that new router, and setting up the first Wi-Fi network was insanely easy. It basically just asks you what name you want for the Wi-Fi and what password you want for the Wi-Fi, and then you're good to go. And another cool thing I added was this Cisco switch here, which is quite old and only has 2 gigabit Ethernet ports, but it does the job nonetheless. So I have that 100-foot Ethernet cord now running from the new router instead of the Cox box all the way up to my room and straight into the gigabit Ethernet port on my new switch. And I also have the second gigabit Ethernet port connected to the PoE injector, of course, first, and then the new upstairs access point, which just broadcasts Wi-Fi up here. So I have a much stronger Wi-Fi signal up here. That's obviously greatly appreciated. And the whole house has a good connection. Now the switch is absolutely necessary here because another really cool feature that I wanted to take advantage of on the Ubiquiti Cloud Gateway hardware is that you can set up a WireGuard routing rule to direct all of your traffic from a network through a WireGuard tunnel, VPN tunnel, before it even reaches your ISP. So that's a very cool feature. And the reason the switch is absolutely necessary for this is I'm now carrying 2 VLANs across my trunk port here. I have VLAN 1, which is just my regular Wi-Fi network being broadcasted, and now VLAN 10 as well, which is the VPN network. So you can figure out how to create a VPN network on your own time if you want. It's very easy to do it on Ubiquiti software. I mean, they have the feature built in for you, so you don't really have to do anything too crazy. Similar to the gluten thing, actually earlier in the episode, I just downloaded my private key and pasted it in to the settings menu where it says VPN. It's so self-explanatory, so easy to figure out. And yeah, so on the switch, I just created the trunk port. I did switch port trunk allowed VLANs 1 and 10. I created the VLAN. I did native VLAN 1 since that's the regular Wi-Fi network. And obviously my Cisco CCNA studies really came into play there, and it was really cool to see them actually being used in the real world. That's going to be everything I have for this episode. Hopefully this was a little more watchable when it came to just, laying out everything that I've done off camera. In my previous episodes, I went more of like a tutorial style where I was going through step by step, showing you actually how to do the things that I was doing. And I think that is maybe a little unnecessary, seeing as I got the information from the internet myself, so anyone who's curious can find this stuff out pretty easily on their own. I just like talking about this stuff. I'm trying to become a better speaker. I'm trying to, learn more about this stuff myself, so maybe presenting my videos as a tutorial is a little ingenuine. So I'm just going with this style from now on, where I'm just going to work on a bunch of stuff off camera, come on here, yap about it, talk about it, post it, see what happens. The last thing I want to do before I end the video is show this little chart that I made on draw.io, which is just a free flowchart maker that anyone can use online. As you can see here, I have the external access bubble, the cloud services bubble, and the internet symbol there at the top. I will acknowledge that external access, cloud services, and internet should kind of all be the same thing. I just wanted to show, a few different logical and physical connections combined. So it might not be the most realistic chart, but I think I did a pretty good job with it. So you can look at this. You can see my port forwarding rules from the router, which direct traffic to Minecraft or to Nginx Proxy Manager, which then directs traffic to other services running in my home lab. You can see qubit torrent, writing movies to that HDD that is bind mounted to Jellyfin. You can see my APs broadcasting the two VLANs. You can see everything going on in my home lab here. You can see WireGuard, how the router routes VLAN 10 through WireGuard before it connects to the internet. I think that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I'm pretty proud of this chart. I put some work in on it. The green lines are physical connections, so patch cables. You can see I put the trunk cable, I put the trunk label on them that says native VLANs and allowed VLANs. And yeah, I love this chart. I'm not going to lie. I put a lot of work into this. It might look pretty simple, but trust me, this took some time. That's really all I've got for this episode. I know it's been a long time. I did get distracted, but this is obviously still a very fulfilling and fun project for me to work on that teaches me a lot. And I'm going to continue working on it. So next time I have, a big patch of updates, a big batch of updates, I clearly need to work on speaking better, but next time I have a big batch of updates, I'll come on here just like I did today and just kind of list everything out that I've added to my home lab. And eventually I'm going to keep growing and growing. Maybe eventually, no, you know what? Definitely eventually, I'm going to get a rack where I'm going to, mount the switch on there, the PC on a little shelf, and who knows what else I'll add. Maybe a NOS, maybe I'll get into Open NOS or True NOS or whatever it's called, and so much more to do, so many ideas, so many fun things I can work on, home automation, so on and so on. If you guys have any suggestions for me, anything I got wrong, which there's definitely a few things I got wrong in this video, let's be real. Just leave it in the comments, and if you want to check out my documentation, link is in the comments for my GitHub. Thank you for watching.